Hello, Tom again, chosen one, Warren from Warren and Tears Box. Regarding Ebony, aka Black Girl, right? The first interview where we see her tagged at the end, she's part of, is it Kelly's video, the dead long video you did initially, the first interview you got with her when you first were in Detroit, where the way you presented it on your channel, she was at the end of a very long video. I think it was Kelly, wasn't it, the girl who was on at the beginning, who spoke for a while. And then you drove on from Kelly and then you caught up with Ebony, didn't you? We now know as Ebony. Yeah, and I agree. That was totally wunderbar. It was wonderful. You caught her right at the moment. You caught her a moment which couldn't have been scripted. It was just it was an aha moment, wasn't it, which you caught when you first spoke with her, when you first saw her when you were in Detroit. And what's made me come to the video today is I've just watched your second rendezvous with Ebony, and it would have been after you arrived home. I think you would have uploaded it, by the way it's been presented on the channel. Yeah, the two interviews, the way she was with you, chalk and cheese, couldn't have been as if two different girls, couldn't have been any different from each other. The outcomes of said interviews couldn't have been any more different from each other. I'm sure you will outfox her in the end, Tom. I'm sure you will get your way with her in the end. I'm sure you will. But I was flabbergasted with how she was when she arrived to give the interview. I will say, my thoughts on it is how she's turned up, the way she's presented herself to be so differently, the way she was so differently. And she's probably spoke to a lot of her friends since the first time you saw her. She's probably gone off and she's done what she does with her money. And she's probably spoke with a lot of her friends. I thought it was a racial thing at first, but, you know, like the way a lot of white people who don't mix up with coloured people when they're younger and stuff, they grow up to think that all coloured people look the same kind of thing. I thought maybe it could be just that basic, stupid, default racism thing we all kind of have. A lot of us have, even, you know, both sides of the coin for each race, where we don't sort of like really recognise the other race until we really get to know them. You know, on face value, we don't recognise them. She's probably, because it was so great, that first interview, and she really did open herself up. I think it's just general insecurity. She wanted to just come again and play the field, just to test you, basically. And I'm sure the next time you see her, she'll be, again, a different girl. I wouldn't like to see her crying every time in an interview. And also at the same time, I wouldn't like to see her performing in an interview with her. The way I'd like to see her again with you is just being herself. And I think the way she was crying in that the first time, I think that was herself. But she can't be crying every time she meets you, can she? I have not been brought up with coloured people. Maybe Indian people, some Indians, and maybe a few Indian people. My father's family are Indian as well, mixed Indian, but mainly they're of Indian origin. But they're not completely Indian, but they were born and bred in India themselves. But they do have mixed Asian in them. I don't have that much. I will still stand by my statements that I don't have that much experience with mixed races, but I'm sure she will. I'm sure she will open and warm to you again. I'm sure she will, without having to perform, because she'll know herself that she can't be crying every time. And I'm sure her default is saying, well, Tom still gave me what you promised. He still gave me the money, and he still let me walk away with the money. And to be honest, yeah, I don't know how she might well be with you the next time. And I think that's because, not that I don't have much experience of mixed race cultures, but simply because I think she has so many brick walls around her. Yeah, I thought it was... Anyway, comment below what you think. Comment below what you think, guys. Okay. Now I'll talk on to... My camera allows me, the batteries allow me, I'll talk on. Talking about Becky. I'll comment on Becky, yeah. When you met up with her again for the second time, another second time rendezvous, I'll comment on. When she approached your window, which was down, and she came across like she was skint again, the way you nearly jumped out, your life nearly left you. I could tell in the tone in your voice that you were extremely surprised, let's put it that way. I found that really funny. I found that great. I thought that was really funny because of your extreme shock that she was for that money again. The way she looked at you, the look she gave you, said it all, and she didn't have to open her mouth. And you were likewise back. Your shock and surprise, likewise back. You didn't actually have to say words, it was in your tone how surprised you were. You make a wonderful couple, you do. You like it. Now I'll go on to the other girl met down there, Lacie, the girl who needs the beats, who needs more beats, who'd like to get some beats for her lyrics. I think she is wonderful. I think she is, like you say about the way Rebecca is extremely agreeable, very personable. I think Lacie is the same way. I think she's extremely attractive. Her nature is extremely personable. She's very like that. I find her to be very, very agreeable. And she's wonderful to talk to, wonderful. I think it's a crying shame that she is on the street. I just do. And the way you've got one of your photographs in your slide uploads on the channel where you've taken a picture of the back of Lacie, where she sat there on a wooden box with a sign, holding a sign. There's like a photograph of that. And again, Christ, Lacie, she seems so intelligent. She just seems, yeah. It's like, what are you doing, girl? You still look, even though I mean, I'm not going to start criticising the way she looks, right? You can tell her brain still isn't turned to mush. You can tell she's still got it in her. She can still talk in sentences, etc. You can tell she still hasn't really been mentally affected by the drugs. And I think, when I watch your interviews with her, as I'm thinking to myself how agreeable she is, I'm also thinking, what the hell are you doing there, girl? I will say about, touch on with Kelly, you know, I mentioned there, Kelly was at the beginning of your video where you had Ebony at the end of it, where she was saying about her daughter. Was it her daughter having lost some of her arm, having to have some of her arm amputated due to injecting drugs? Well, I was thinking then, if I heard correctly, she was saying about her daughter, or was it her mother having lost some part of her arm? Well, I thought I would say in this vlog that it's not that uncommon for that to happen to people, to lose part of their limbs due to the injecting of drugs, street drugs. It's not that uncommon. I used to stay at a house a few summers ago where our neighbour there, her mother, and she was about Marguerite's age, she had lost her forearm on her, I can't remember if it's her left or right side, right up to the elbow, and one of her arms used to injecting drugs, and I just found that out casually, as you do. I thought I would just mention that it's not that uncommon. It's not that uncommon for that to happen, to occur, for people to lose limbs due to that. I will go on to saying about a girl I was thinking then, who I can't quite remember the name of, and I'll wrap it up now. Where you spoke to her in the trip you've just come back now from. I can't remember her name. I was just watching her video before I was coming out just then. I can't remember her name, but she was, she had very fair skin, blonde hair, clean looking hair, very longish blonde hair, very pale skin, and she had bloodshot in her eyes, and you could tell she was really strong drug user. She had all cuts on her arms there, up and down her arms, between her hands and her elbow, and she was applying makeup to her face as you were talking to her, as you began to talk to her. I was actually distressed by her condition, actually. I was completely and utterly aghast by the state she was in. But also found her personality to be very attractive. I thought she was very agreeable also. And I was also saying to myself, she was very short with you, even though she was still very forward and agreeable with you. In regards to Ebony, she was short with you, but there is a difference between being short. You can still be nice and warm and still be direct. I would mention the girl at the end, the fair-haired girl. I thought I would relate that to Ebony, okay? But I thought, going back to the blonde girl, I thought she was very agreeable, but boy, was she wasted! Wasted! Christ! I don't know how these women can stand up. 5 minutes. Comment below, over and out. Kelly. I think Ebony will warm up. I think she was just testing the waters that when she came back and she was so offish with you again. I think her default mechanism, her wall, because she's got so many walls, I think she'll be fine with you next time. But I can't imagine how she will be with you the next time. I just can't imagine it. I can't imagine it though. You like Little and Large, the two Ronnies. Funny man, funny. And when she went on to say about the way she had to pay her rent and then double rent.